Hi there, this is H. Victoria Hargro Atkerson. I'm an author and a writer, and I would love for you to take a look at my latest book, which is Enslaved. Enslaved is now available on Kindle, so be sure to download your copy, okay? I got a question from a reader just the other day, and I want to make sure I cover it. I think I did before, but she wanted to know why did I write this book on slavery? Why it is, what was my motivation for writing it? And I think I talked about this before. I think that history is our greatest teacher. And it's one of the things that fascinate me about writing because I can use history as my backdrop for many of my stories. I have a fondness for reading about the past. I'm a member of several historical societies and historical organizations, genealogy groups, and I'm just fascinated by the struggle that our people have been through since their introduction to America, how they got here, what happened before they got here. I mean, I'm just entrenched in that history. So I wrote that book with that in mind. And I think that today it's very important that we look at the past because we are dealing again with the civil rights issues that we dealt with many years ago. And a lot of things that we thought was settled have resurfaced, and we're kind of going backwards in some sense. And a lot of times that's what happens. It's like a pendulum that swings one way or the other. You get so much progress, and then this pendulum swings back, but you have to make sure it goes back in the opposite direction. Progress sometimes is very, very slow, and I think we need to look at that. And I always equate that to what happened after slavery, all the rights that was granted to blacks when slavery was ended by the end of the Civil War in 1865. All the rights that we were granted, all the positions that blacks had in Congress and in state governments, all of that was changed instantly because the pendulum went in the opposite direction. So we have to be mindful that it's an ongoing struggle that we have in this country about civil rights. And it is a steady, it's progress and it's regression. But I think that looking at the issues in our historical past helps us to judge how we are doing today and what we should be doing in the future to make sure that we're constantly moving forward and not moving backwards. And enslaved is a wonderful way to look at history because it puts you on that slave ship and it puts you in the bottom of that ship and it tells you what happened to those people who were forced to live in those conditions. And it also tells you about the people who ran the ship. You know, the captain, the medical people that were to take care of the captives, the talks about the slave crew and the crew of sailors who manned the ship. All of that's in there. So take a look at that, and also you'll be informed more about what happens during slavery in the United States. So take a look at this. We're following the trek of an African princess and one of her royal guard and how they were captured, enslaved, and how they survived under that system. So take a look at this book. Like I said, it's on Kindle now. So be sure to take a look at that or go to Barnes & Nobles and get a copy or Amazon.com. Okay. Another part of this journey I'm taking in civil rights was writing about a community that I knew as a child, and that was Buttermilk Bottom. I played on these streets and also walked past this community going to and from elementary school in Atlanta, Georgia. This was one of the first communities that was occupied by blacks away from slavery. And this community lasted up into the 60s when it was torn down and the Atlantic Civic Center was built in its place. So take a look at this, because segregation is the main theme of this book, and it talks about the coping skills that blacks had during segregation. So do yourself a favor and look at these books, because I do historical romance, and there is plenty in there for you. The stories are great, the characters are wonderful, and I think you will get a good sense of the struggle. Like starting with this enslaved, you talking about the immigration, not the immigrant, the forced immigrations of blacks in this country, and also what happened after they live here, and also how they had to live separately from the rest of the country. They were isolated in a segregated society that had nothing to do with the establishment. They were locked out of the system. So Buttermilk Bottom discusses that, and it talks about the living conditions there. So take a look at that. I think it's really, really important. And I think you're going to be fascinated by it also. And you're going to love the love stories too. They're wonderful. So take a moment, like this program, and also subscribe by pushing the red button. That subscription is free now. It doesn't cost you anything. So just push the red button and subscribe to my channel. And take care. Love to you. God bless.